Knut Kloster had founded a cruise line called Norwegian Cruise Lines. He owned a yacht. He owned a ship called the France, formerly that he renamed Norway.
Okay.
Caused quite a little bit of unrest in France, I might add. But he was a brilliant man, and he said, contact my friend Ted Arison when you get to Miami. He's going to go places. So I got to Miami, and I looked him up, and I said, what's your vision? He said, I'm going to build a cruise line. I'm starting with these two boats I have. One was called the Mardi Gras, which is an old boat, not that great, small cruise ship. The other one was the Festival, which he had on charter. And he said, I'm going to call it Carnival Cruise Lines. So that was the beginning of the beginning.
Didn't know a clue, but I had the biggest salvage tug in the Caribbean.
Wow.
And I knew how to run it.
Yes.
I didn't know anything about salvage, mind you, yet, but I was to come.
Wow.
And I came up with the name Resolve. I resolved what I wanted to do. By that time, I was a pilot, an airplane pilot, a good engineer, diesel engineer. I was explosives. I got good in diving. I could do anything. And I said, Resolve. I'll resolve what I want to do, and I named that ship Resolve.
Quality is job one. We build quality in everything we do. The systems are tested thoroughly. There's a good sign-off system, and we learn from the past. If we have a problem on a boat, we figure out what it is, we correct the issue. We learn from it. We also will go back to see if there's other boats that we might need to correct. We're proactive.
Building a yacht is the greatest redistribution of wealth man has ever known. You put 500 people to work for 5 years. They go back into their communities and spend what they've earned. And then 5 years later, when the yacht gets delivered, it becomes this mammoth consumer of luxury goods.
Building a boat is a pretty difficult task.
Yeah.
You can make money in the boat business doing anything but building boats and do quite well at it, but
Yeah.
they were building repetition.
Right.
And a lot of the reasons that boat building has not, and companies go out of business because they're building very complex and one-offs and things of that nature. Custom yacht building is very difficult to make money.
The competition is high in our size range. 50-meter boat isn't that big a boat anymore. It wasn't too long ago, a 100-foot boat seemed like, oh my gosh, what would you need more than this? And that just flew by. And anyway, but foreign competition is always a challenge in that they don't necessarily have, and not all of them, but they don't necessarily have the restrictions that we have, emission restrictions.
Rick, the boat just has such a legacy that we wanted to keep it traditional, but we wanted to update it and end up with a Newport Bridgehampton beach house, but on a classic Fed ship.
Great description.
Paul Allen owning the boat and taking it around the world 3 times, including up the Nile. In this very room, you've had Peter Gabriel, Phil Collins, Bon Jovi. Paul was an aspiring musician, and he would fly in all of these great talents to jam with him and play with him in this room.
That's cool.
And of course, Paul then selling the boat to Joe Louis, and Joe had it for 10 years. And then of course we, as you mentioned, did the refit, and we've now had the boat for 10 years.
Rick, the definition of a frictionless ownership experience for the Cypriot owner is one that looks at the whole process in a holistic nature. Just to give an idea of what our market represents. In preparing for this call, I did some tracking on BoatPro, Boat International's amazing tracking platform.
Yep.
There are 6,127 yachts as we speak in the market in operation with a heartbeat or active AIS.
Cool.
Our growth rate for the market over 24 meters is about 200 vessels per year. So we grow at a very, I would say, calculated growth rate. To give you an example, Ferrari made 8,000 cars last year. Lamborghini made 9,000. I use it as a comparison. We grow at 200 vessels per year.
Right.
Now, with 6,000 in the market, that's 6,000 owners. Owners that have an asset that's the average price anywhere between, let's call it 6 million up. Now, when we're looking at a frictionless environment for an owner, the process has not been defined, or the customer journey. So when you look at the ownership experience, it's one that should start without any concern or worry. Very similar to an aircraft industry, private aviation. So the definition that I am using, in my opinion, is one where the owner sees value and joy, whether he's using it, whether he's having it serviced, whether he's having it chartered, or whether it's at an IGY dock. My point is, in the life cycle or the customer journey, there has to be a definite emphasis on making sure that owner has value directly and indirectly throughout the process.
We are investing. To give you an example, we have our own educational schools at Fetch, more of that, which is actually investing in people and making them see that, working with your hands is also something that has great value. And we take them on, we educate them to become a timberman or a welder or a painter or you name it. The real craftsmen that really make the difference. And a naval architect is also a craftsman.
Absolutely.
So it is, but getting them on board, educating them, and letting them experience what it means to deliver up to that quality, to deliver perfection, if you will. And letting them walk hand in hand with a senior timberman and letting them experience for 5 years what it's like to get into your absolute peak of being the specialist that you are, and then letting them go to rule over their projects and be totally into that.
It takes some ownership of what's happening there.
So that's what I mean with investment.
Yes.
We take the time, we have the patience. It is allowed to make mistakes because that's what you learn from.
That's right.
And it's a culture of making sure that we have a safe environment and we let people thrive and grow into what they're good at. And we try to pull out the talent in them. And that's what makes Fetch Pipe.